Hey everybody, I'd like to demonstrate a little project that we're going to work on called My Dream of Spring. It's a linear functions project, and basically, as long as you follow some basic rules, you can pretty much create whatever design you want. I'm just going to show you guys how to do it in Cami, so it can be done something you just do in Cami pretty easily, I think. So what you're going to do is basically you're going to make a design on this 4-quadrant grid. And the design can be anything you want, whatever your dream of spring is. So it could be flowers, it could be a place you're going to go on vacation, it could be the world healing from COVID, it could be anything, right? Whatever your particular passion might be. I'm going to draw probably some flowers and a nice meadow or something like that with some hills in the distance. I haven't really thought about it too much, so I'm going to just kind of have some fun demonstrating the idea. Okay, so the way it basically works is on Cami, you're going to have this function here where you can do insert line. Okay, so you just have to go from a point on the grid to another point on the grid that's easily identifiable. So any starting point for a line segment has to be on the grid, and any ending point for the line segment has to be on the grid. So as long as you follow that rule, you can pretty much make whatever you want. So let's say I wanted to make a mountain range. I could just start on this point right here on the grid, and I could then design my mountain range any way I want. So I could go from there to there. That's fine. And so let me just move this over. Move this down. Okay, perfect. So if I did that beginning of the mountain range, I could then just go down from there. So I'd start right here and go down. And let's say I want to make it like here or here, anywhere I want, as long as I'm starting on the grid and ending on the grid. So I could go like that. And then I could go up and I could go down. And what you're looking for here is just create lines, right? And every line obviously has an equation, y equals mx plus b, that goes with it. And we can find any of these if we wanted to. But basically, we're gonna basically make our design out of lines. It's a complete line design, so everything has to be straight lines. And we can make it any way you want, like I said, as long as you start on the grid with a beginning point and end on the grid with the end point for each line segment. So I'm going to kind of do my little mountain range here, kind of going through the process. Let's make this one a bit hilly here. And I'm literally just going from point to point on the grid. I can do this any way I want. Okay, so here's my mountain range. You guys can kind of see how it goes. Ooh, my creativity says I want to go up here. I'll go there. Okay, so we have a bunch of lines. There's my mountain range. Okay, now you want a variety of slopes, because part of the project of what's going to be graded is, do you know how to identify the slope of a line? Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to design the picture, but then you're going to want to make sure that when you're done designing the picture, you have enough variety of slopes that you can easily and accurately identify 10 slopes that are of different values. Okay, you also want to have 20 ordered pairs. So you want to be able to identify 20 ordered pairs on our design. So if this is our mountains, right, in the spring here, they could be green hills, they could be whatever, right? I'm going to now have a sun, because it's spring, it's going to be kind of sunny. So I'm going to do a little sun in the corner here. So I'm going to kind of go over here, and I'm going to do a, so that's not starting on the grid. So you want to make sure you start on the grid. And you can always zoom in on Cami. So if you wanted to, you guys could zoom in, right? And I can like see a little better now. So you can see there that I'm going to draw my sun. It's going to start kind of like this, going down. And then I'm going to go from this point to this point over here. And then I'm going to go up here like this. There's my sun. And I'm just going to do like some line segments coming off of that. And like I said, the only thing you don't want to do is have a situation where all your slopes are the same. So as long as you have some variety in your slopes, it's fine. So I'm just going to do some different types of slopes, right? So the steepness of the lines are varying. And as long as I have some varying slopes, I can, like I said, do whatever I want. So there's my sun in the top left corner there, on my mountains. All right, and you guys can see every single line segment starts on an exact ordered pair identifiable point on the grid, and ends on an ordered pair identifiable point on the grid. Okay, and that's important. All right, cool. So that's my mountain range, my sun. Now let's kind of look down here and make some kind of. Ooh, let's just make some. What should we make down here? Some flowers. All right, so let's do some flowers down here. So this is like the background in the distance. And I'm going to kind of do some grass down here. So we'll do some grass. So let's do it in green. Why not? So I'll do some green grass here. So I'm going to do some grass going up and some grass going down and some grass going up and some grass going down and some grass going up, some grass going down. And this one, I can just kind of, if I want to, be pretty robotic about it. I'm just making grass. So any design that you want to make for grass is fine, as long as, like we said, it starts on the grid and ends on the grid. So you guys can see that. Up and down and up. And there's my slopes going very much consistently right now. Keep it going. Boop, ba-doop, ba-doo. And I'm going to mix it up a little bit there, and then do a little bounce. And I can have as much fun as I want with this stuff, as long as I start on the grid and end on the grid, right? So you guys can see how you can make a really creative picture using just line segments, okay? And the only rule, line segments only, and starts on the grid, ends on the grid. That's it. Simple rules. All you got to do is follow those rules, and you can make any picture you want with those guidelines. Just be as precise as you can in placing your elements. And I'm going to move my little head, and I'm going to finish this design for this grass. Hopefully you guys are getting a sense. Let me see that right there, right starting and ending on the grid. Okay. Hopefully you guys are getting a sense of how this works. And you can always fast forward to the other parts of the video if you want to see some different things. But anyway, so there we go. So you got this grass down here. We got the mountains in the distance. We need some flowers. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some flowers. So you obviously can change the thickness on your line segment. That's fine. So I'm going to do some thicker line segments as stems. So I'm going to have that be a stem. And I'm going to have this be a stem right here. And I'm going to have another stem over here, kind of coming up, just like that. Beautiful. So it blocks the numbers. Let's kind of move it over here so it doesn't block the numbers, because we want to be able to read this comfortably. And I can do another stem over here. Oh, look at this. This is so cool. And another stem that goes up like this. Oh, look at my flowers. They're so pretty. And how about another one going even taller? What? A tall flower like that? That's crazy. But it is a dream of spring. It doesn't have to always be perfectly realistic. Oh, that didn't start on the grid. I got to go back. Start on the grid. There we go. All right, now it's going to go the right place. Okay, now this one I can do a little bit like shorter. There we go. Okay, so as you guys can see, you can have a lot of fun just doing whatever you want to do. This is your project, so you make it as interesting as you want, okay? So there we go. So we got our line segments going up here for our stems. I made them a little thicker. And now I'm going to go back to the original thinness, and I'm going to add some flowers here. Now, you're probably thinking, can I use like the circle, right? Technically, no, because it's supposed to be a line design, right? So technically you shouldn't be using circles, right? Because circles aren't lines on the grid, right? So that is a whole different ball of wax, right? You can't identify those the same way. So I wouldn't say you can use a circle, but could you use a triangle, for example? Maybe if it's made up of line segments that are on the grid. So if you wanted to, and you want to make a flower out of triangles, let's see if we can do that. Oh, no, that has like the angles in it. Not really worth it. Well, I guess it's kind of cool. Let's see. We move it around once you make it. Let's see. You'd have to do it in such a way that it ended on the grid. So let's say you did something like that. You're probably better off just making line segments, probably, is my guess. Yeah, I just make line segments. All right, so what I would do is let's get a pink. I'll do pink and let's do purple. So let's do a flower here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a flower. So, silly, I'm a triangle again. You could do a square, maybe. Yeah, squares will work. You can do squares because those are line segments on the grid, horizontal and vertical lines. So you can do it out of squares. That's okay. So if I did a square for the flower, right, that's one option that I could use. And then I could do petals around it, right? So once I have that purple flower, right, I can then use, let's say, the line segments to make the petals around it. And so that would be cool. Let's do that. So I can do like, let's say, darker purple petals. And I can go like this. One petal here, one petal there. I'm going to zoom in because I want to be able to see it properly, right? and then one petal here, start on the grid, and then end on the grid, and then start on the grid, end on the grid, start on the grid, end on the grid. That was a little bit sloppy. Try again. There we go. Better. Start on the grid, end on the grid, start on the grid, end on the grid. Start on the grid, end on the grid, start on the grid, end on the grid. And you guys get the idea. You just make the design however you want, as long as you follow that one rule, that it's all line segments that start on the grid and end on the grid. So I should be able to look at any of these lines that you create your picture with, and I should be able to figure out what the y equals mx plus b for that line is using 2 points. Any line. And we're going to do a little project update in a moment with that idea. So that is the basic principle, right? So you're just going to kind of make a picture here. Now, you might be thinking, I want to add something on the inside. You could do a diagonal like this, and then one like this, and kind of go like this, and you could go like this, and all of a sudden now you've got like this inside of a flower. Now you might be thinking, well, how do I color that if I wanted to color it, right? So you could always go in here at the end of the project and grab like a highlighter, right? Where's the highlighter? There it is, text highlighter. And pick a color to, let's say, color this in, and then just color it in like, like so, right? You can just kind of color it in. You don't have a lot of control over that though. So like if you zoom in, right, you'll notice that when you do the highlighter for coloring, it's not like you have tons of control. So you can't really get really precise, can you? So it's not, you can't really change the size of that highlighter. So it's not really the best tool. Maybe it's better to do, there's no fill option here, so you can't really do a fill. So I think maybe the highlighter is the best tool if you're gonna just do if you're just gonna try to like get a sense of the coloring, right? It's like maybe just make sure that you don't do it on too precise a way. So you kind of go through and do the highlighter kind of like let's see if I can do it like generally. So kind of like once you have the line segments, you can kind of highlight. It looks a bit wonky though, doesn't it? I don't know. Probably not worth it, right? So like if you start to decorate with the highlighter, I think it starts to look a little bit less fun, less pretty. Like look at that, it looks really childish, right? So yeah, I don't recommend using the highlighter. It's a good idea in my head, but it doesn't really work that well in practice. So anyways, you have the design. You know what you could do though? You could actually make the design for this out of like, if you wanted to color it, you could color it with like thicker lines, right? Couldn't you do that? Let's see if that works. You could color it in yourself if you happen to have a tablet, right? Like I just did. But if you don't have a tablet and you wanted to do it, you could probably do it with like just like a yellow line segment here. Let's say if I can make thicker, let's make it thicker too. There you go. So you guys see how I did that kind of thing? So you could just kind of like paint it in a little bit like that using line segments if you wanted to. That would be one way you could kind of do it. As long as when you're done coloring it in, all the shapes that you've made are things that are identifiable on the grid. So I couldn't leave it like that. But if I fill this whole space yellow, that would be okay. Like you could fill the whole space yellow. So you can do this kind of thing where you're painting it with the line segments, but then those don't have to necessarily start on the grid and on the grid. But when you're done painting it, it should look like everything starts on the grid and ends on the grid. So that works pretty well, actually. So you guys see how I just kind of painted it? So if you happen to have that as a comfort zone, like you feel like you can paint it, that's fine. As long as when you're done, right, and you finish this process, every point that you're looking at, right, is a point that is on the grid. So it's line segments beginning to end that are on the grid. And if you look at any two beginning points or end points for the design, it's always on the grid, just like that. You see how it's all on the grid? Okay. So you can make your design, you can elaborate your flowers. If I wanted to like paint them different colors using line segments, I could, all that fun stuff. If you like a different software and Cami's not working for you, you can obviously do it on any software that lets you kind of color it and decorate it as long as you follow the rules, which is if you wanted to print it out and do it by hand and not do it on Cami, that's fine as well. Okay. And take a picture of it. But basically, you're just looking at something like this where you are designing it on the grid and it's all pretty when you're done. So let me take this and opportunity to finish coloring in my flower a little bit. You guys can kind of see how it looks when you're painting it, and so on and so forth. Anyways, so I think you get the idea, right, of how you could do it as long as it starts and ends on the grid for every single point. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out. You guys can see the kind of flowers happening again now. So once you have a design, you're going to make the design however pretty you want to make it. That's the idea. And then once you have the design, you're going to go through and you're going to do the rest of the work on Cami. So let me show you how this works. So, or by hand on paper, however you want, and then take a picture of it. But basically, you're going to want to identify 20 points, 20 ordered pairs, and you want to identify 10 slopes between them. So just for the ordered pairs, it's pretty simple. You're just going to get like a texting tool, and you're going to just put parentheses, and then what's the ordered pair. So like that dot right there, that dot is going to be, let me zoom out so I can see it better. There we go. All right, so this dot right here at the top of the mountain is going to be -2 for x and 13 for y. So what I would write here in my order pair is -2, 13. And then I would close that, and I would put that right there somewhere near that dot. Boom. So there's my order pair right there. Okay, and then I want to get the next order pair. So I'm going to take this image. I'm going to take the text box tool. I'm going to grab do another order pair, and I want to do the other one, which is over here. Okay, right there. So I'm going to go, that's going to be 211. So that's 211. Okay, and I'm going to move that over here. Okay, cool. So now what you guys can see is I've got like these two identified ordered pairs, right? So you can see that point's -2, 13. This point's 211. And this line that's between them has a slope. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify, I've got these 2 points, I'm going to identify the slope between them. So now I'm going to take the text tool, right? And I'm just going to write m equals. And what is the slope between them? Well, the slope of this line is down 2 and to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. That means basically you go down 2 and to the right 4. So the rise is going to be -2 and the run is going to be +4. So this is -1/2 as a slope. So what I'd write here is -0.5 or -1/2, right? So m equals -1/2. If you want to make it a little bit easier to see, maybe you bold it, right? And then you just kind of put it in between the two. So I'm going to put it like just like that, okay? So it's right there between the 2 points. So you have the 2 points, and then you have the slope between them. And if you wanted to put it there, you want to put a background on it, I think you might be able to add a text background. Let me see. I don't know if that works or not. Is there a text background tool? I don't think so. I think it's more like, yeah, I don't think it lets you do background. Let me see. Oh, there it is. There's a fill, background color. So I would put a background color on it so you can see more comfortably. So maybe I'll put a white background, something like that. Just make sure that when you put your background color on it, you're not blocking anything that you really want to see on the picture, because it's going to be white over that. It's going to block it out, right? But basically, there you go. So like there is a line segment, right? The 2 ordered pairs are labeled there, and you've got the slope between them. Okay, so here's your line segment, beginning and ending on the grid, 2 ordered pairs, and the slope between them. This is how you'd label things, right? So this is a slope of -1/2. Let's do another example real quick. So another example is going to be, let's say, this one over here, okay? So first thing first, you're going to grab your text tool. You're going to add an ordered pair. So the ordered pair for my thing here, let's do it in yellow is not the right color. Let's do black. So we're going to do this top bit of the peak here. That'll be up 15, 16. So that'll be y value of 16, an x value of, let me zoom out so I can see it better. Looks like an x value for the top of this peak at 8. So this would be 8, 16. And then you're going to put that at the peak here or close to it, so it's easy to identify. I know what you're talking about. And then we're going to do another one. And we're going to do at the bottom of the peak here. And that's going to be, let's say, this order pair, which is parentheses. Looks like that's at 11 for x, and it's at 12 for y. Okay, so you can put that there and move it kind of so it's easy to see what point you're talking about. And then the thing you need is the slope between it. So now you're going to take your text tool, you're going to put it in m equals, and the slope between this is down 1, 2, 3, 4. over to the right, 1, 2, 3. So this is a -4 over +3 slope, or -4/3. So -4/3. There's your slope. We're going to take this, we're going to make it bold, and we're going to put the white background on it so it stands out, and we're going to put it right here between the 2 points. Okay, as long as it's on the line in the middle between the 2 points identified. So you have your starting point on the line, your ending point on the line, and the slope between them. And so this is what the project would look like when you're done. It's that simple. So you've got these 20 points. You're going to have 20 line segment beginning and ending starting points. And then you're going to have the slopes between them, right? It's the slope of the line. So you're going to do 20 points and then 20 slopes. And then when you're going to pick any line you want when you're done with your cool design and everything, and you're going to identify those 2 points down there. So let's say I wanted to do this line right here. Let's just say, I'll make it harder. I'll do this line here, this harder, okay? So this one's 8/16 for one point and 11/12 for the other, right? So I'm going to go down here to my my work down here. I'm going to do 8, and the other one is 16. So 8/16. I'm just put in a little text box here. So it's literally just a text box, 8/16. Move it over here. That's the first order pair. And the other order pair I have here is 11/12. So we're going to do 11/12, 11, and 12. Okay. And once you've done that, you've got this nice order pair here. So now we know those are the 2 points that we're going to go from, right? From here to there. And if you want, you could like highlight them, let's say, in a color to make it like stand out, like so it's bold so I can see it. So let's say I wanted to go in here and I wanted to just zoom in and take a look at these and go directly along this line of the mountain. Let's do it in a line by doing a line. So it's nice and clean and straight, right? So from here to there, we'll do it in purple. Why not? Okay, and I have this purple line. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to put this line in purple, okay? So the selected line, it says, what's it going to be? I'm going to take a box square and I'm going to make it the color that I'm going to do. It's going to be in purple. So let's just fill it with that. I wonder if you can fill it. It doesn't look like you can fill it. That's kind of funny. It's like you have this stuff but no fill. Yeah, they don't have a fill color. All right, that's fine. So I identified it with purple. It's fine. You get the idea. If you wanted to like make it like solid purple, you guys know that we can just take the line tool and fill it in like we were doing with the flower, right? So you can kind of drag, just kind of color it in if you want to. However you feel most comfortable. I'm going to color it in. Make it all pretty because I just like making things pretty. And once you get it colored in, all right, and you can do this by hand or you can, on paper, or you can do it on Cam, either way. All right, so now we got our selected line, right? And the selected line is right there. This says slope with a color here. This is just to show what color you wanted to do the background on the slope. So if you're having the background on the slope white, you could leave that white. If you wanted to put a background on that that was like, let's say, have the slopes be yellow, you could, for example, do that in yellow. And just so we can see how this looks, I can then color this in real quick. There we go. Let me color this in. You get the idea. A little time consuming. It's too bad they don't have a fill for these different shapes, but I don't. If you guys find a better tool to use than Cami, you can use a different PDF editor. I'm just using what we have available as a school. So anyway, so there's your yellow, and then what you could do is you could actually go in here to your slope that we were doing earlier, and you could literally just change the background color to yellow. So there's the yellow. Where's that background yellow? Is it the same? It's like a brighter yellow. I wonder if we can make it the same dark yellow. It's a little bit orangey. That's funny. How about that? It's pale. They're not even the same colors. That's kind of annoying. All right. So anyways, you get the idea. I'm going to make it like yellow. Okay. I'll make it bright yellow. And then I can always color this in bright yellow as well, I think, in theory. Let's see if I can color this in bright yellow. So color palette, bright yellow. Let's do bright yellow. So I can maybe do bright yellow there. So you can make it a little bit, still not as bright as that. That's really bright. Let's see. Is that this one? Yeah, that's that one. Is that more the color we're talking about there? Oh, this one. Yeah, that's more like the color. Okay, so like you could, I'm just gonna go in here and erase all this. Just so particular already, but you know, is what it is. So you can go here and you can do this just like that. Boom. There's your. See, let's try this thing. This is kind of cool. So you make like lots of embedded rectangles. That's a quicker way to color it. That's pretty cool, right? Just make embedded rectangles. There you go. That's smart. Okay, so you got that, and you got the coloring good. So the slopes are going to be this yellow color, right? So now I can just do that for all the slopes, make them this yellow color. So I can go here and I know the slope, and I can make them this yellow color like we talked about. So it's just so that we can easily see the slopes, and I don't have to search for them. And then, you know, the line that we're talking about is this purple line right here. And so that's the color of the line right here, the purple color right there. And so this is the line we're talking about, these 2 points. And all you got to do is demonstrate that you know how to write the equation of a line given 2 points. So what you would do then, either by using the text tool here or by writing it out. I'm going to write it out because I happen to have a tablet, so it's easier for me to write it out. So you could then just take these 2 points and show me kind of what you're going to do here. So for me, what I would do is I would obviously always do change in y over change in x. So when I do the slope of a line is going to be change in y over change in x. So change in y over change in x. And in this case, what it happens to be is from 16 to 12. And that's your change in y. So I would just do 16 minus 12. And then you got your change in your x, which is going to be from 8 to 11. So it's going to be 8 minus 11. And what you get there is that the difference from 16 to 12 is you're going to do minus 4. So I guess you could go from and to. So let's do it. Let's do it the y2 minus y1 way. So if you do y2 minus y1, that's going to be 12 minus 16. And x2 minus x1, that would be 11 minus 8. Doesn't make a difference as long as you're consistent. So if you're going from this to that, it's the ending value, subtract the beginning value. And then you're going to get -4 on top and -3 on bottom. Oh, +3 on bottom. So you're going to have -4/3, which is what we already identified as the slope, right? So you can see here we have a slope of -4/3. And then we're going to just take that slope of -4/3, right? And I'm going to put m is equal to slope is equal to change in y over change in x is equal to -4/3. And then we're going to take that and we're going to plug into y equals mx plus b. So we know that given this x and this y, so let's do the first point x and y. So we know given an x value of 8 and a y value of 16. So if you have 8, 16, let me do that in purple. 8, 16 is your x and your y. You have your m. Then all you got to do is plug into y equals mx plus b. So the y value is equal to the m value, which is -4/3, times the x value, which happens to be 8, and then plus the y-intercept, right? So this would be 16 is equal to -32/3, right? Because 4 times 8 is 32, plus b. And that would be that 16 is equal to -32/3. 3 goes into 32 10 times, so -10. And there'll be 2 left over. So -10 and 2/3 plus 6, or plus b, I should say. And now you want to get the b by itself. So I'm going to move myself over here. And I'll write it out. So you want to add 10 and 2/3 to both sides. So therefore, we can see that basically 16 plus 10 and 2/3 is equal to b. And so that has a value of 26 and 2/3 is b. And we're going to ask ourselves, does that make sense, right? So if we look at this this kind of mountainous kind of line right here, if we were to continue the slope, which is up 4 to the left 3, up 4 to the left 3, up 4 to the left 3, it's already at 16 for y. Would it cross the y-axis around 26 and 2/3? And I think that makes sense. It seems reasonable. So once you have that as your idea, your answer there, then you're just going to write in your equation of the line in y equals mx plus b form. So this is going to be that for any y, is going to be equal to the slope, which is negative 4/3 x, or negative 4/3, right, times the universal input x, and plus the y-intercept, which is 26 2/3. Okay. Now, I don't necessarily trust this yet, so now I want to check it with the other point. So because I want to check it, I'm just going to do a little maneuvering here. So we already have that x and y up there, so we don't really need it down here. I'm going to put the identifier x and y right above it, so we can see that there. And then we're going to do a little check over here. So we're going to check to make sure this line works with the other point. So you're going to solve with the left and check with the right. That's what you're going to do. So we're going to check with this one on the right. So we have this x and y to check with and make sure this is the correct point. So we know that it should be that 12 y value is equal to negative 4/3 times 11 plus 26 2/3. And this should be a true statement. Let's see if it is. So 12 is equal to negative 44/3 plus 26 2/3. Now, 26 2/3 is 26 times 3, which is 60 plus 18, so 78 plus 2. It's going to be 80 thirds, right? Because 26 times 3 is 60 plus 18, which is 78, and you add the 2, so it's going to be 80 over 3. And then what is negative 44 plus 80? Well, to get from 44 to 80, you got to add 6 to get to 50. So 50 to 80 is now 30, so we're looking at 36. So this would be worth a value of positive 36 over 3. And is that the same as 12? Yes, it is. So we've just checked our work. So you'd have some kind of evidence that you checked your work like this. So you want to use the point on the left, let's say, to solve, and the point on the right to check. And of course, show me that you know how to identify slope and how you calculated it. And there's the proof that this is the correct equation of the line. So this is the equation of the purple line. I identified purple. You can see that I've got just here an example of 4 order pairs with the 2 slopes between them. You'd want to have 20 order pairs in your design identified with the 10 slopes between them. So if you just do starting point, ending point of the line segments, and then the slope between them, and you do that for 10 slopes, basically, you're going to have an A on this project as long as you have the correct line and your math is correct, right? And you can pick any line you want to identify, but I'd rather you guys choose one that's a little challenging because it is only one time you have to do it. So you might as well do something that's going to be a little more challenging than just like, oh, this line's a slope of 1 or something, right? I mean, pick something that's going to push you to show your math skills. All right, and that's kind of how the project works. Yeah.